Well, hello there, and today we are going to cover the top 10 GeoGuessr tips for Colombia. Tip number 1. When you come across yellow plates in South America, you are most likely going to be in Colombia. The majority of Colombia's plates will be yellow. If you have a round with vehicles that most have yellow plates, and you're in South America, you should only be in Colombia. Be aware that other countries can have yellow plates, and in South America, a good example will be Peru, which occasionally have bright yellow plates. Unlike Colombia, all the other countries will mostly have different coloured plates that tend to be just white. Tip number 2. When you come across the back of a road sign with a white cross, this should mean you are only in Colombia, especially if you are in South America, and in the GeoGuessr community it is nicknamed the Colombia Cross. Tip number 3. It is very useful to check taxis in Colombia to narrow down which city or nearby city you are in. As you can tell from the image, you have these white stickers either on the actual door or on the roof. And generally, you can actually get the city name. And in this instance, you've got Bogota. This is a good indication that this taxi has come from Bogota or you are in Bogota. And be aware that commercial vehicles such as taxis and lorries, for example, or buses should normally have white plates. Tip number 4. Utility poles and the patterns can be very useful to separate countries. For Colombia, the main colours they use is black and yellow, but the yellow can sometimes be more orange, like the example in the middle, but generally when you get these patterns or examples, you should be in Colombia, especially if you're in South America. Be aware that these two are rarer examples, and I think this one I found in Generation 4. It might be more common now, but be aware that Peru and other countries can have similar colours at times, but generally they won't start partway up the pole. They generally start right at the bottom. Tip number 5. On Providencia, you can get a unique Google car, and this unique Google car will appear completely like greyish or silver-like. Providencia is located east of Nicaragua, and it is found here, so you will find that vehicle on this island on official Street View. Tip number 6. The other island away from Colombia, that's part of Colombia, is San Andreas, and this is its Google car. It resembles similar Google cars in other countries in the world or territories, so be aware of that. But if you can identify that you're in the Americas and you see this Google car, there is a very good chance you are on San Andreas. San Andreas is another island east of Nicaragua, and it is south of Providencia. It is important to be aware that these two islands have very different Google cars, so if you are trying to separate them, it is very vital to be aware that this vehicle will have a silver car, whereas this one will have a white car. Tip number 7. It is very handy to use the environment around you in Colombia to narrow down where you are at. If you are in a more desert-like environment, you're most likely going to be in this area of Colombia or this area of Colombia. This map is the most important one, and the majority of Colombia is covered in moist forest, or in other words, rainforest. You do have examples of dry forest in some patches towards the south, but tend to be mostly found towards the north. Grasslands tend to be in this area towards the Venezuela border. You also have mountainous grasslands, which are some small patches of green around here. You can also have mangroves that tend to be around the coast and are generally found on the far northwest. Here is a map of the distribution as well as the mountainous terrain in Colombia, and as you can tell, there's not really much coverage towards the east or where you would find the grasslands, but you do get a lot of off-road coverage around this area towards the Venezuela border, so that can be very useful. You've also got the deserty areas, which has a lack of coverage, not many actual roads in this area, but you can kind of narrow it down with a street view where it is. You've also got some mountainous areas towards the north as well, near Santa Marta, and as you can tell, there isn't much deserty areas. The most of it is rainforest. Tip number 8. AfroColumbians are mostly distributed on the west side of Colombia. The best places to guess will be around this area. But you can also get AfroColumbians in many other areas in Colombia, but you've got a much better chance of getting a good score if you go the far west of Colombia itself. In terms of the areas of Street View, you've got this really south tip. It is called Tumaco. That is one area that should be considered, but you can also consider this area, which is about between Cali and Medellin. You can kind of get some pockets around here on the 60, the 50, and the 13, and you can also get this road towards Buenaventura, towards Monteria, I would say, or around this road here. Those are also some places to consider getting. Tip number 9. Road markers can be very handy in Colombia to actually pinpoint and narrow down where you are. The top number is how far away you are from the end of the main road you are on, and the first 2 digits at the bottom tells you which road you are on. This can help narrow down which road you are on, but it can also help pinpoint down the exact junction where you're at if you're able to work out the road angle as well as how far away it is from the end of the main road. And finally, tip number 10. Colombia does have a lot of diversity with its vegetation and wildlife. There are some examples of trees that you could use to help narrow down where you are at. And in this instance, we are using the Quindio wax palm. And if you're wondering what this tree is, it is these trees right in front of us. These ones are different species, but these ones here, very tall. They're almost like very tall palm trees of some sort, but found in more of like a rainforest environment. These are generally distributed more towards the heart of Colombia itself. It is quite rare to find them really far south of Colombia. As you can tell, there's not really much distribution down here, but there is a lot of big clusters around this part of Colombia as well as a bit more northeast as well. So something to be aware of. And you can also get these occasionally in Peru as well, apparently. So don't just think that this is only found in Colombia, but if you know you're in Colombia, best to head somewhere in the middle or somewhere around this mountain range, depending on the other clues you have. Bonus tip. Previously, I mentioned the 2 other islands, Providencia and San Andreas, having unique Google cars, but you can also get a unique Google car on the mainland of Colombia, and it is found in Leticia, and it appears like this. This is a very unique vehicle, and I don't recall seeing this vehicle anywhere else on official Street View. Leticia is in a very unique and unusual place in Colombia with very limited coverage, and it is right on the border of Peru and Brazil. And this is this very small area, and as you can tell, the official Street View is quite limited, to say the least. But once you get that vehicle, you should be able to get a lot of points for a round, because this is a very small village in a very, very remote area that you can't really muddle up with anywhere else. And that is all. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video and found it useful, smash the like button and subscribe if you want to see more of this content. The next episode will be Ecuador, and I will see you in the next video. Chicos.